Welcome back to another episode of Out of Bounds on the Boomer Bus channel. I'm your host, Terry, and today doing a special New Year's Eve, end of the year, end of 2020, thank God, recap with the homie AJ.
I was like,
pretty much, we had her had her on before, and why not, man? We all kicking it. Why not get together, just talk about it? We not in the same space as it goes this year, but we wanted to get together virtually and just talk about the year, because the year has been bananas. So AJ, any off the top thoughts about 2020?
this year has been a flaming bag of shit. Just from start to bottom, man. It's just throw the whole thing away, honestly. I mean, I did get TikTok famous, but other than that, I mean, just throw the whole year away, man.
Yeah, let's start with the elephant in the room, and that is the COVID-19. So let's start off with our first just kind of thoughts and interactions with the whole thing, and I'll go first. I mean, obviously it was in March, but it was weird for me because it was March 2019 2019, and 2020, my bad. It was
That's
March
how long this year has been.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been 2 years.
It was March 2020, and so we was early in the new year. Now, if y'all know me, March is my month. That's my birthday month. I good blessings, and it was feeling good. I had a interview with Ohio State. I was getting ready to graduate my master's program, and then all of a sudden, Ohio State was like, we got to do the interview virtually. I'm like, why? And then I start hearing about the COVID or the coronavirus at the time. And I'm just like, some corona, I'm not drinking. I'm going to be there. Like, I'm going to be sober for the interview. And so they just like, nah, bro, we can't do it. So I had to do an online 6-hour interview. It was interesting. And then I'm like, okay, this thing going to go over fast. And just like everything that I had planned started getting canceled as far as jobs and classes, and spring break got extended, and it was all over the place. And I was like, oh, this is for real. Mm-hmm. And then some people was like, yo, it's gonna last about a year if we don't do what we got to. And I'm like, yeah, right. It ain't gonna last no year. And here we are today.
And it's probably going to extend 6 months into next year, honestly.
And so I would say for me, early on, I wouldn't say I was in denial, but I was very much like suppressing it. I'm like, it ain't that bad. It ain't crazy. Like, okay, I don't know what this is, but it's not crazy. And the more I researched and the more I understood, then I figured it out. But at first I was just like, oh, we'll be all right. I don't know what this new thing is, because we lived through swine flu and SARS and all that stuff, mad cow disease. I'm like, we'll be all right. And I was not ready for this.
No, I definitely was ready. I kind of suspected something was going on because November, like October, November of 2019, there were so many people getting hellishly sick and nobody knew what it was, but they were considering it the flu. And I'm like, there's no flu that's got people sick for 3 weeks, a whole month. I'm like, there's something brewing. So I was already kind of taking precaution because I'm like, either it was a new strain of flu that was just extremely bogus, or it was something new. So when the tides turn and we're in March of 2019, and we all discover that it's coronavirus, aka COVID-19, I basically packed up my shit and closed up shop. Like, my job definitely helped. I worked in the auto industry and renting cars. And if everyone's in order to stay at home, no one can rent cars. So I got laid the fuck off. But I shut in. I didn't even look for a job immediately because I was like, I'm not going outside, man. I take stuff like this very serious. And so I don't even think I started my job search for my new job until June. I felt safe enough to even try to be outside amongst what we had going on here. Because I just knew, like, this is America, bro. Ain't nobody gonna listen here. Like, I just already knew the instructions were not going to be followed. Like I was like, it's not going to happen. People going to do a bunch of bull crap. Like, you got to remember, in 2019, we were just coming off of people getting shot for Popeyes chicken sandwiches. So
hey, they was delicious.
I'm serious. Man. But we were coming off of people.
Pause.
Chicken sandwiches.
Pause. AJ, have you had one yet?
I have not. I'm not
exactly. AJ she was not going to have one, and she was against it, so she don't know the true struggle.
Should be shot because of a chicken sandwich. So if that's how we ended 2019, I was like, I already knew we was coming into a wild ass year coming into 2020 with all of this. So I was like, we definitely about to be on some purge, last days type shit. And sure enough, what did everybody do? Go buy the whole damn grocery store, all the damn toilet paper. Ain't nobody got enough ass to own that much toilet paper. But, you know, it was a weird initial take, for real.
Man, I will fully admit to being the white person in the scary movie when it comes to because well, one thing, and we'll talk about it later, but one thing I learned a lot was about America, because like you saying you kind of expected it. I did not. I knew how we were in America, but I'm like, okay, this is pretty obvious. They said this is going on, this is happening, we got to do this and we'll be good. And if it started here, I would get it. It'd be a lot of skepticism. But it started elsewhere, and we saw every country affected by it. And so I'm like, okay, we all gonna listen to reason. We did not. And I did not know that. We
looked at all the other countries and was like, that's cap. It's cap. There's no way that they actually dying. And we just was like, we're gonna live our lives. I'm like, yo.
Bro, I was not ready for it. I did not think America was built that way, and it was shocking to me. But yeah, we'll get to that. So the quarantine happened. We all kind of either got laid off, lost our jobs, looking for jobs, whatever. And so I feel like we had a lot of time to really just deep dive into stuff. So we're going to start off with 2020 movies and TV.
We got to start off with The Tiger King, my guy.
Oh, my God. Okay, go ahead, AJ. Go ahead.
What a wild-ass show. I still can't believe that was this year. I felt like I watched that in 2018. This year has been long as hell.
Yeah. Bro, no, first on my list was Tiger King. As far as TV that stood out, because it wasn't that many movies. A lot of movies got delayed. Yeah. But as far as TV, I'm like, Tiger King stood out to me, bro.
They say shout outs to Joe Exotica and his husbands and everybody else at the crew.
Man, Joe Exotic need to be freed, man. Pardon my man's up out here. Karen Baskin killed her husband. You can't convince me otherwise. But no, that was a wild. It was funny because I like
Carol Baskin is literally the female OJ. She's just walking around taunting everybody about how she killed people just free. Talking about if you want to kill them with a tiger, you got to put some such and such on their feet.
Fish oil. You got to put fish oil.
Yeah, that's right. Fish oil.
Why would I kill him like that? If I was going to kill him, right? She might as well write a book about it.
Hypothetically speaking.
Talk about some, hey, all you cool cats and kittens. If I did do it, I would have used fish oil. But no, that show was absolutely wild. And it's funny because I see so many different things talking about like high life society and like the things we don't know that go on with the rich.
Yeah.
And it's like these people weren't rich though. They was just white trash. Like, we talk about thug rich and hood rich and all that. This was the white version of that. Like, man, I got all these tigers, man. I got my little zoo. I'm living like
they were definitely gully rich, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that show took me on a wild run, man, because at first I'm just like, all right, kind of like a Nat Geographic type thing. And then it went into a whole different lane. They was talking about murders and sex cults. And I forgot what that dude names the doctor was, but it was a sex cult. I don't know why he was lying.
He was.
He was out here lying. He made them change their names. He was out here having a whole sex cult. That man gave them houses all down the same street and stuff. They borrowed sugar from each other and everything. And
both types of sugar.
This man is wild. Man.
Beyond that show, the tearjerker, the one that really put me in my feels, The Last Dance. The documentary for Michael Jordan's time with the Bulls, man.
Yeah, I think you was gonna bring that up.
What are you talking about, man? I've watched it 3 times, the whole thing.
Really? I don't remember us talking about it. That's why I was surprised you brought it up.
I've watched it. I might even watch it again. Talk about feel good.
Oh man. Oh, feel good. I mean, some points was a little dirty, but yeah, the whole man, The Last Dance was wild. That was early in the pandemic. It was the perfect time. And okay, I'm gonna ask you this.
That Last Dance was like April, May, because I remember watching it with my dad when I went to go visit for my birthday. I can't believe that was Jesus.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I'm gonna ask you this. Did The Last Dance change your rankings for Michael Jordan and LeBron James, or was it the same?
No, it did not change they're both phenomenal players, but I will always say what I've always made my point to be. LeBron would have never, whoever's a LeBron fan, he's an awesome player, but he would have never survived in the league back then. It was a tough league. It wasn't all this foul calling and all these technicalities that's in the league now. I mean, that's not LeBron's fault. That's just the league updating and changing what they can do. But the players of today would have not survived in the league back then. 2, Michael Jordan gained most of what he gained in a short amount of time, his championships and stuff like that. So, of course, if Michael Jordan had stayed in the league the same amount of time as LeBron James, I feel like he would have had the same amount or if more accolades. So they're both phenomenal players, but just 2 different generations. They shouldn't even be compared. But if we are going to compare them, Michael Jordan is a better basketball player.
Yeah, I agree as far as we shouldn't compare generations. Mike said that. But if we are doing it, then I got to say Mike went the tougher road, because not only was the fouls and all that different, the way that you were expected to take the stuff was different. Like now they accept you crying and flopping and yelling like to get a foul.
They can't even post up anymore. Like honestly, any post up is going to result in a foul. Like I don't even watch professional basketball anymore because it's not even a sport. It's just who's making the most baskets at this point.
Yeah, and so I just think like the mentality's different. And so I don't know. It's hard to say if LeBron could adjust. Like I would say this, like LeBron athletically in that era, if he had the mental toughness, would definitely
he definitely would have been in his bag. He definitely.
Yeah, he would have been a force, but we don't know if he mentally could have survived that. But yeah, you're right. The Last Dance was a lot of entertainment because it was the compelling sports story that we all know, and Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and all that. But it was also the funny, like, side stories.
The best episode, Michael Jordan going to go get drunk ass. Golly, my brain. Dennis Rodman with the PJ pants on at practice. This man flew a red eye.
Yeah, got him out of Las Vegas.
To get Pippen's drunk ass. This man was on the court with pajama pants on and house shoes.
And they said he was first in the sprints. Indian run.
He was a different human.
What do you think? Now, I don't know how much you know about Mike, and I might say a little bit later, but what do you think about Mike in his rookie year and that story about how the Bulls was a bunch of losers? They like smoke, girls, drink before games, and he was like really fed up with that. He was like, stay to myself, I'm all about basketball type. Did you believe that, or did you not, or like how'd you feel?
I honestly did believe that, only because the way his college buddies described him. Like they described him that clean cut before he was even in the league. And knowing the household that he was raised in, even the way his father expressed how he raised him, I really believe that he was that clean cut. I mean, I'm sure he still had interest in, flirting and all that stuff like that. But I think even to this day, you don't really see him beyond having a drink and a cigar. You know what I'm saying? You've never heard of a story of Michael Jordan just being outright out here crazy. So the one thing about doing harder stuff or drugs or all the wild stuff, you eventually get caught because there's an eye everywhere. And he's never had too much of a scandal in that regard. So I don't think he actually did indulge in those things, because I think we would have been exposed by now.
Yeah, so as some of you might know, Michael Jordan is a member of Omega Psi Phi. He accused bros. We know a couple accused bros. So I know a couple people who have met Michael, obviously within the Chicago area and all that. And they said he to the Qs, he cool. And but he'll give you some crap, but he cool. But they was like, yeah, he dogged some people out. Now, obviously, we saw that in The Last Dance. He'll get on you. And I believed it. Like when he was young and he didn't have like a leg to stand on, I think he was in prove-it mode. But once he got, established and they knew who Michael Jordan was, I feel like he challenged you to prove it. And so that's where the gambling comes from. That's where, any of that stuff comes from. He want to prove your mettle because he already proved himself. And so, but yeah, at the same time, it's not necessarily malicious. It's not necessarily just wilding out. He kind of said it. It was just a competition problem.
Yeah, and the thing about that I always hated about how the media, treated him back in the day. Now, granted, we were kids when a lot of this stuff were happening, so there were some things that I was not privy to as a kid. Like, obviously, I wasn't reading newspapers about. I was shocked to see the newspaper clippings featured in the documentary about them potentially blaming him for his father's death. That's sick, man. I can't believe they did that. That is so sick to me. Saying that, his gambling debts is what got his father killed, and whoop wop the bam. I'm like, how did they even go to the press with that? With no proof, no resolve, no anything about it. To see, even as old as he is now, to see the emotion in his eyes and his face when he was even describing those situations, like that man, you can see he still hurt about that. Like, y'all really blame this man's dad's death on him? That's wild and sick.
Yeah. They go to a lot of lengths to tear him down, but at the same time, Mike himself and everybody kind of talked about how he protected that image, and that kind of goes into LeBron and his whole thing. But I ain't gonna get too deep in that. I think I would just say, as TV, it was good drama, even though we know how they won and stuff. Honestly, like I'm sitting here right now looking at my Chicago Bulls Dynasty DVD set. Like it has a lot on there. It has the documentary, it has the games, like game film, everything from the actual games. And so I know the story, but this gave us a side we didn't know about. And so It was good drama. It was fun. Is there anything else in 2020 that kind of caught your eyes? Movies, TVs?
Honestly, I was so sad that the movie industry got killed. That's one of both of our favorite pastimes. Mm-hmm. I would go out to the movie theater and wipe my face across the glass and slide down. Wait for them to open back up, and they never did. I'm still hurt about it. I honestly might drop a tear about it after we get off this podcast. But well, hold on now. Wait a minute, I'm lying. HBO Max. Lovecraft Country.
Okay, talk about it. I haven't saw it yet. Talk about it.
I am absolutely enamored with that show. I am a black woman who's into sci-fi, and one of the things we rarely got to see was us inside of sci-fi type shows to this extent. Fighting monsters and goons and goblins and ghosts and spirits and all types of crazy stuff. I love it was that show is like the perfect thing for my personality, because I love history. They include a lot of history within the Black history within the show. I love sci-fi. I love monsters and all this other crazy stuff, and to mix it all into one. They had a lot of good singing and music in there too for the soundtrack. Like that's another show that I've watched top to bottom more than once. So
yeah, I heard a lot of some crazy good stuff about it. So yeah. I definitely want to check it out on AJ's HBO Max, but I haven't got a chance yet.
Yeah, you got to do that.
But no, I heard it's good. I'm gonna definitely check that out. But along that theme of representation, I gotta say a very recent entry, Soul, on Disney Plus. I watched that.
Wonderful movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I watched that, I think either the day after Christmas or somewhere around there. And I knew from the trailers that he kind of quickly dies and like what it's about and all that. But you hear black.
No, there's a whole dilemma about that right now. People, even though the movie was revered, that storyline about even all the black animated characters spending most of the movie as animal or intangible objects, ghosts, frogs. I think Will Smith's movie, he's a pigeon the whole movie.
Yeah. No, I heard that even when the trailer dropped, but I would say, so I knew that going in, but even I would say the amount that they got to do before he turned into a spirit, and then the stuff they did after a spirit, I was a sucker for it. I don't really,
have a problem with it at all. I think people are just dramatic. There's obviously a conversation to be had, but if you're going to pick on any movie, I don't think it would be this one. This one had basically cut half and half to me, honestly, of him being a soul and him being
right. And I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it definitely does some things. But either way, I think it gives us enough of like what's going on with his life to show some representation. And I was I found myself a little choked up. I was like, okay, like just some of the stuff they were showing. And
it definitely choked me up because, believe it or not, my orchestra teacher in high school, Kevin Turner, Mr. Kevin Turner, was a black man guitarist. He's a jazz guitarist. So even though he taught orchestra, he would have jazz Fridays, and it would never be on Fridays. We would have jazz Fridays, and he would tell us about what's happening on the scene and what gigs he's had and where he's played. And so when he was having that moment in the classroom with the kids, when he was describing music, like, I'm not even gonna lie, it pulled my heartstrings, and I teared up a little bit. And I actually wrote a post on Facebook to Kevin, like, I miss you, dog, because he was a big inspiration to me, you know. So it definitely, it had a lot of culture in the sense of even how we talk, how we sound when we're elated, how we sound when we're giving advice. It was very cultured, the movie.
Oh yeah, it was our little version of Coco, which, you know, some people had, you know, their takes on that as well, but I think it was our version of that, and I enjoyed that. And it is obviously very recent to me, but I felt like that, I don't know, that really stuck with me watching it. And even though, like, some of the concepts they came up with was kind of, you know, whatever, I just, like, the thing that really stuck with me was the culture of the, you know, African American, especially in New York and all that. I mean, they had Questlove in there, and I didn't even know, like, I knew Jamie Foxx was in it, but I didn't know the voice cast they have, and all that means something, man. At the end of the day, all that means something, I think.
I definitely agree too. But speaking of, like, iconic voices, I was so mad, you know, our show, The Masked Singer, that my boy didn't even try to disguise his voice at all. Like, I knew Buster was going to get eliminated first episode soon as he started his performance. Because he didn't even try to disguise his voice. I was like, bro, I would have loved to see him on there for a little bit longer, but I guess his voice is a little too iconic to disguise. I ain't gonna spoil it for nobody else. If some people might be behind, but that's the first episode. But man,
yeah, I'm behind. I haven't even caught up to that, but yeah, I gotta watch that. But you told me, and I'm like, yeah, I would hope I recognize Buster. Like, I knew Lil Wayne off the bat, the season
which is funny
before.
because I guess I didn't listen to him enough. I did not recognize Lil Wayne, but you did. You definitely called it, and I was like, I don't remember that.
So hopefully, I'm gonna watch that, and hopefully we know. But
was that season this year too? With Lil Wayne,
I don't know. They be cramming a lot in. I'd be confused on when it was. I feel like it was.
Like around the Super Bowl time.
Yeah, I feel like it. Yeah, you're right. Dang, they doing 2 seasons in a year. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So one movie I know we both saw, The Gentleman.
Yes.
Gentleman.
Yes. How can I forget? I've never bought. Listen. I have never bought a DVD or disc or movie digitally when it came out. I've always waited till it got cheaper. I was at the store to get that bad boy to watch it again. That movie.
Yeah.
My cup of tea.
That movie is top notch. And shoot, I mean, there's some black people in it, but it ain't even about the culture. It's just a good movie. It's a whole different culture. It's a British culture, the Cockney culture. Like, it's just good. It's funny. It's hilarious. Good action. I watched that movie at least 3 times. I'm gonna have to buy that one though.
I'm gonna probably put it on after this. That's another one. I can't get enough of it.
All right, so moving into music, which I feel kind of like movies, it was a little limited this year.
Yeah.
Is there anything that stood out to you in 2020 on a music tip?
Hell no. No,
Hell no.
I honestly didn't spend too much time listening to a lot of this year's music beyond like TikTok songs. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, obviously you have your, Megan Thee Stallion and all her situations this year. You have my favorite. I don't even know why I like this guy, but I love him, the Baby. All his songs for some reason just do it for me. And I did recently fall in love with Billie Eilish. I'm late to that train, but I'm there. I finally made it, guys. But yeah, I honestly found myself in the house being more eclectic and downloading music from my past that made me feel good. Like I have a whole pop list from like 02, 03 of R&B and of like regular pop, Britney, Christina, NSYNC, all those guys, Backstreet Boys. That's what I did this year. I didn't even really listen to none of the new stuff.
But what about that WAP though? Speaking of Megan Thee Stallion.
Get a bucket in the mouth. That's on WAP. I did that challenge on TikTok too. Macaroni in the pot. That's on WAP.
Yeah, I don't even know what that challenge is. I don't think I want to know. But yeah, let's just quickly talk about that. What was your whole storyline with WAP?
As soon as it came out, I downloaded it illegally. I did. I got that joint right off of YouTube. And I was like, nope, I'm definitely bumping this. And then I was genuinely shocked that there were so many people, men, sorry, I'm just going to say that's who it was, talking about I'm sorry, guys, talking about the vulgarity of the song, to the point where there were so many videos of people, men and women, putting compilations of songs together by men with the same amount of vulgarity from like the 80s all the way up till now. And I agreed because I was just like, who hasn't rapped or sung about coochie? Can we say that on here?
Yeah, I mean, we just
twats,
did.
As a southern, as they say in the South, pussy with a W. I mean, like, who hasn't sung about pussy? Like, I don't understand what the dilemma was. It was short-lived because, everybody did a This You with all the other songs that were, just as vulgar. But I'm like, leave that woman alone. That's good. That's good dance, hype up music. That is a good girls' night out type song. Leave it alone,
Yeah, I can't exactly remember how it came across to me. I'm pretty sure it was just on YouTube when I usually check that in the morning. Just for the stuff that I watch, but I feel like that was trending. And I was like, the thing I noticed, because I think it had like the little cover with like the heads back to back, like Baps.
Yeah, with the 90s hairstyle. Yeah.
Right. And so it was like Baps, but it said WAP. And I'm like, okay. And then I watched the video. I'm like, woohoo. Okay.
I think it just caught everybody off guard because Cardi definitely hopped on that thing. Just certified freak, 7 days a week, wet ass pussy, and everybody was like, "What? My word!" In the first sentence, she led with that. That's what she led with. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. But I'm like, have we not had Little Kim? Have we not had Trina? Have we not had Kaya? I'm like,
yeah, I thought it was gonna be like
Dina Howard. Have we not had these people? Like, come on, this ain't new.
I guess I thought to me it was gonna be something funny, so it did throw me off a little bit because I'm thinking of Baps, like the movie. And then I was like, oh God, oh Lord. But I wasn't like, this is heathen music. Like, bro, we've been past heathen music. So I was not on that type of thing. But yeah, WAP. Honestly, the video keeps my attention more than the song does at this point. Like, you know, and then I know the TikTok challenge came out and all that. Cause I'm like the video and the dancing was more impressive to me than anything I heard in the lyrics. I'm like, yeah, okay,
I enjoyed
whatever.
the video, but I enjoyed the video. But there was some dilemmas about that too, because they were talking about placement of where people were standing in the video. And I'm like, they were, oh, Cardi's in the back. I'm like, if you actually were a Cardi fan, I'm not even a big old Cardi fan. I like a few of her songs, but I even know that she always referenced herself having 2 left feet, and she has to rehearse a lot. So she's never going to put herself as the front runner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In her dancing scenes, because you know it's nerve wracking. But I'm like, just shut up. People always complain about something. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, that WAP, that stay on rotation. The other thing that stay on rotation, I'm pretty sure this is 2020. It didn't come out in 2020, but that's when I discovered it. And I'm saying this to everybody. Hear me. Add to, as in addition, ADD. Add to the Jim Crow musical. I personally discovered that. I pushed that on AJ. I pushed that on a lot of people.
Yeah, and I was glad that you did, because it's definitely the whole album. It's fire.
It is the closest thing I've ever felt to College Dropout with Kanye West. It is, and it's funny because I didn't even know Add2 was from Chicago until afterwards, but I'm like, this feels like Chicago. This feels like Kanye. It feels like all that. And it absolutely is ADD-2. I'm gonna start shouting him out and everything because he needs more recognition. Like I have like at least 6 of his songs on different playlists on my phone. That has been a revolution to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have enjoyed playing that music, and I'm similar. I think you probably know more new music than me, even, because I don't really venture into a whole lot of new music unless it comes across, you know, my timeline or whatever. But Add2 was one that I had sitting on my watch later, and I finally listened to it, and I'm in love with it. I love the stuff that I have from the past, kind of like you saying you was rediscovering. I love that. I love the music that moves me, and the stuff that moves me is the stuff I grew up with, some stuff older, and that's what I play. And so Add2 is heavy on rotation right now.
I will say I haven't learned a lot about this artist yet, but I'm definitely going to go do some more research. But YBN Cordae and Anderson .Paak has a song called R&P, right? And it feels so good. It was my first time hearing a song that made me like do the Spice Adams bounce in my car, you know, when I was playing it, because it brought me back to like a Tribe Called Quest featuring, you know, Busta Rhymes scenario, how they interloop their rapping, you know, one person do a line, this other person do a line, one person, you know, it's interlooped rapping. One person does a verse, I should say. If you haven't heard that song, add it to your playlist. It is pure heat. And speaking of Busta, I'm going to keep bringing him up because he dropped his new album this year. And I have been, he dropped it, mid-November, I want to say. I have not stopped playing it since I got it. I'm not even going to lie. So Add2, thanks to Terry. What's his name? YBN Cordae, Anderson .Paak, Busta Rhymes, Billie Eilish. Those are all the people I've been listening to this year.
Yeah, and Wale definitely jumped back on his thing.
I haven't heard his project yet. I mean, I know it's on the way, but beyond the popular tune, I haven't heard his project.
You heard Sue Me, right? Sue Me on Roof, Everybody Is Black.
I don't think so.
Ooh, that video popped pretty hard because that video was a whole concept of like reversing white people into black people's shoes. So that was cool. But the thing that got me back onto Wale was his Tiny Desk, and I really enjoyed that. So that put me back on Wale. I'm glad he back on his stuff. But what is this? This is one I found out like very recently was Tobe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I can't even pronounce. I ain't gonna try, but
Nigerian. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I've been listening to him too. It's been this year has felt so long, but I feel like I've been listening to him since last year. When my first introduction to him was when he was praising Dave Chappelle and Erykah Badu for calling him dope. And that's when I first I saw a feature of him on Erykah's page, and I'm like, yo, who is this cat? So I go on his Facebook page, and I'm seeing these like very intricate videos, but yet subtle. And I love that he always puts his the captions of his lyrics on all of his videos. For a person who's a visual learner, like, I don't know if anybody else is weird like this, but I am completely hearing, but I watch everything with captions because I'm a visual learner. So just being able to read what he was saying, even if I couldn't even understand it lyrically, hearing it, I was like, there's a couple of his videos, I didn't even have the sound on, I was just reading the lyrics. I'm like, this guy is bananas. Like, he definitely brought the hope back. I love real lyricists. I grew up on underground rap. I grew up on the Soulquarians and KRS and all that. My dad listened to a lot of that. So a lot of people we listened to were lyricists. And I like that trend is coming back, because we just got out of the mushmouth era. Is that what we're gonna call it? What do they call it? They have a name for it.
Mumble rappers.
Mumble rap. Yeah. There it is. Mumble rap.
Yeah, I hope we out of that. But yeah, no, I saw him. Actually, I was in a professional development thing. Somebody played his thing he did at the BET Awards, and I was like, okay, interesting. And then he popped up on my Tiny Desk feed, and I love the Tiny Desk. So I watched that, and I was just like, okay, yeah, he played that Dave Chappelle and Erykah Badu joint, but he's the one that did Try Jesus.
Try Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yes, because I throw hands. Yeah.
And it makes sense. So it was interesting to watch kind of what his style was and everything like that. But I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna be looking out more for him. But yeah, I'm kind of like you, man. It wasn't too much music.
And I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of talented people that came out. I just know that I probably won't get to it until later, because
no, it's true. I definitely feel that. There was I'm trying to think, like, there was some couple things that came out, slight things. I know J. Cole was having his little thing, and I forgot the artist he was going back and forth with, but he did Snow on the Bluff, and J. Cole, my boy, and so it was slight on the music tip, but we get in around to 15 minutes to the new year, at least around our time. So it is. Yeah, we count down. Let's go here. Is there any celebrity stories or celebrity things that stood out to you? And I'm gonna kick you off with one, or just your reaction to it. Versus came up out of the ashes of the quarantine and everything.
Saved us all.
Talk about it.
I would set alarms on my phone so that I would not miss the versus battles. I was tuning in to all of them. And as much as, there was so many icons on it so far, but believe it or not, my favorite battle was with Benny Man and Bounty Killer, the Caribbean Kings. They were known for their features in American music, but also having their own stuff back home. That was that was alive is because they DJs was hot fired before they even came out. I was sweating bricks from dancing, and then they just came out with all the hits I just hadn't heard in a while. It felt so good, but I genuinely enjoyed all of them though. DMX, Snoop Dogg.
That was the Benny Man one and all that. I was like, yo, I want some jerk tacos. I'm not gonna lie.
It just puts you in a mood, man.
No, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Carnival that you took me to in Chicago. I didn't even know that was a thing, bro. That was a day. That was a day.
Quick reference. The reason why that was my favorite one is because I am on the Caribbean dance scene. I'm a part of a mass band called Jukebox based in Chicago. So a lot of the music that I deal with on a daily basis is Caribbean-based soca, dancehall, reggae. So I've been slowly introducing my friends to my side of the world. But yeah, I was in my living room hype. I know I sweated off 2 pounds that day. Like I'm for sure I did. But then on a whole nother scale, you had Gladys and Patty just being straight aunties. And I was here for it all. All the sidetrack stories, like they got off track so many times. I can't even. The comedy of Teddy Riley and Babyface part 1.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Okay.
Part 1 and part 2.
First, give us your quick story on your first verses that you saw when you first became aware of it, and then give us your reaction to the Teddy Riley.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure Teddy Riley and Babyface part 1 was my first verse that I saw. So I missed all the producer verses before, and I missed Nelly and Ludacris. I'm pretty sure that Teddy Riley and Babyface part 1 was my first one. And I thought that people were giving Teddy a hard time because Teddy did bring a whole band. He thought he was going to put on a show. You cannot, and I respected that because as a showman myself, you can't turn off your showmanship. And Teddy has always done it big, i.e. why he's made it in the music industry. And they were clowning him for having all, his gadgets and gadgets and stuff like that and his band. But had the sound and everything else been on par, that would have been lit. I'm not even gonna lie. All the instruments playing live, all his joints, like I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. But that is it GIF or GIF? I don't know. Of Teddy, Teddy turned around looking at the bed because ain't nothing working. Forever mood. Hands on the hip, turned around looking disappointed like somebody black grandma. Very classic.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, what got me was how he was smiling in the camera, and your boy Spice Adams captured it perfectly.
Him and Afion Crockett.
Yeah,
all of their after verses, they done some ignorant, what's. I can't stand them, but it's so they do every battle so good. Afion and Spice Adams.
Yeah, my first one was T-Pain and Lil Jon.
I didn't get that one. I gotta go back and watch that.
That one was actually very, I think, like quintessential to what Versus was. It was like kind of more of a we hop on Zoom and we do our thing. And then obviously it's grown to more than that as people try to make it more of a show. But the one that really, I guess, stood out to me was Erykah Badu and Jill Scott.
Oh,
I was
that one. I
Ooh,
love
yeah,
that
yeah.
they cleared the air. I love that they addressed the industry trying to pit them against each other. I love that they addressed how many songs they have written for each other, and the sisterhood between them. Because all the time, I don't know why in the music industry, and it's not even a male or female thing, as far as who's inflicting it. But for some reason, the music industry, when women are in the industry, they always try to pit them against somebody. You know, this has been something that's been men get to be in the industry and be great and say that they're the greatest, and you got 50 rappers saying they're the greatest, and we respect it. You know. You got a lot of female artists who come out and they don't even say who, you know, they just doing what they doing, and they get pitted against each other. Cardi got pitted against Megan as soon as Megan came out. They like, ooh, you know, competition. Even Cardi got pitted against Nicki, and you got back in the day, Christina and Britney. You know, it's always been something. Erica and Jill. It's like, they can be two talented people. Like, that's in the same genre. Like, chill out. They don't got to be one or the other. Yeah. I hate that. So I'm glad that they showed that they were able to get past the industry standard of that rivalry, you know, and produce a lot of great music for us to hear on both ends.
Yeah. And Versus, I mean, did a lot for the culture. There's a lot we could say. We getting under 9 minutes here into the new year. So let's see.
Before we move on, I will say this. Anybody who missed the last Versus with Too Short and E40, you know, spit your guts out. That Bay Area representation, that Versus was so lit, and it had a low attendance compared to others. It was one of my top. It's in my top 5 out of the Versuses that I've seen. That's all I'm gonna say. But
I have to watch it. No, I want to watch it. I'm curious to Too Short's how many hits he got, but yeah, I'm gonna have to watch.
Well, yeah, remember Too Short's been out since the '80s, so he's got over 20 albums.
Yeah, true. So one of the big stories that I think definitely you could put a good perspective on is Meg Thee Stallion. Like, we know she's beasting. She got Queen Bee. They did the whole Houston thing, but she got shot. She got shot by Tory Lanez, which is, there's a lot of jokes to be made, and I want to, but I'm not going to make it because we got a short time. But I will say this. She came out, and I think it was something that was important to say. She was like, a lot of y'all joking and laughing, but like, I'm hurt. Like, not even physically, like I'm emotionally hurt. Like, I got shot. Now, you know, I don't even know how tall she is, but people be like, okay, you 5'10", 5'11", big, thick girl, like, you black. And I feel like it goes into a deeper thing. And then the whole Tory Lanez thing.
It goes into the whole spectrum of black people not feeling pain as much. And, you know, we go on a deep end about that, about invalidating our pain and struggles.
How did you feel about it, though? Anything you thought?
I didn't really read into the situation too much. All I know is that I found it disheartening that Tory wouldn't just fess up to it. You know, if you got drunk and got a little wild, you got drunk and got a little wild. But, you know, own up to your mess and clean it up. I hate that what he chose to do was make a whole diss album.
Yeah, and I know she did her little diss album, and it became a whole thing. But like, yeah, Meg being shot was it's interesting how fast it disappeared, because it started real hot, and and maybe because she was a rising star, and it was like, whoa, you know, she gonna fall off. But she been doing these dance videos and everything, and everybody like, ooh, how she twerk like that, and she got her debut album out and all that.
I think people read into it too much. We don't know what type of injury she sustained. We don't know if she was grazed or if it penetrated or if it, we don't know what happened. So people speculating about her ability to still do things. I'm like, you've clearly never been in the world of performance. I've done a full performance with a muscle in my knee stuck in between the bones. Okay. Because I was the artistic director of the team. And everyone, it was a newer performance, newer choreography, and everybody was nervous about it. And they wanted to have that security blanket of me being on the stage. My shit was fucked up. And I still went out there and did it. You know what I'm saying? That's just a part of being in the industry, whether it be acting, singing, dancing, whatever you're doing. Sometimes you just got to do some hellish stuff. She's not going to miss her bag because of a foot injury. It's not, even if that project that Tiana Taylor did when she filmed her concert with Red Bull, she hurt herself the day before her performance and still put on a whole concert in heels. That goes to the integrity of what people sacrifice to be a part of the industry, and what they're willing to do to maintain their status and their performances and stuff. Like, I respect that. I mean, why dog somebody for getting up? I've never seen nobody get dogged for standing back up. Like, what? Is that what we do now?
Speaking of the performance in the industry and the sacrifice, one of the stories that at least stood out to me was Dave Chappelle calling people to boycott the Chappelle Show on Netflix. Now,
hey, you know what? He got it removed. Netflix and HBO both removed.
Yeah. So real quick, like, Chappelle, obviously, if you watch any behind the music or any music story ever, the Chappelle got screwed out of the contract where they had the rights to it. And so now the Chappelle is popping again. Chappelle Show is popping again. People are making money. He's getting no money from it. He don't have the rights to it. And so he told everybody to boycott it. And Netflix basically was like, we with you, Dave, and we gonna take it off of Netflix. But how did you feel about that? Seeing him having to me personally, I thought it was beneath Dave Chappelle to have to do that. To be honest, I thought that show speaks for itself. His new stuff speaks for itself. It was beyond him to have to do that.
I don't think it was. I think that him doing it was showing the seriousness in which he took that trauma that he may have experienced with his blues within the industry. I mean, we remember how long Dave stayed out of the industry because of that situation. So there was real harm done to his person, to his mentality about things, to his outlook on his career. And I think that because it happened so long ago, I think he wanted to instill the importance on what that did to him and how that made him feel as a performer. And like Erykah Badu say, I'm a performer, I'm sensitive about my shit. That's true for everybody who's in the industry. And that's real feelings behind him. So I applauded him for doing it, because staying honest about, like, this is still something that hurts me, and being honest with about that with his audience. But we loved it though. I would have loved to see it. I watched a few episodes before it got taken off.
Yeah, me too.
I did not realize the Ku Klux Klan episode was episode 2. I did not know they started off that wild.
Oh yeah.
I said, bro, wild. How is this season 1, episode 2? This is crazy.
I would say it's bounced around enough to where I realized, like, yeah, he got wild pretty early. Honestly, it only really lasted like a season and a half, because that's how much they shot enough for all the seasons, but really, like, when he was on there, it was a season and a half. So
I think that artists should do what Dave did so that we see the seriousness of it all. Because we're coming up on midnight here, and I want to make sure I give my blessings and wishes to this beautiful artist. I think that they should be honest about their feelings and what they're going through, because we
hold on, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Ugly as hell, yeah.
So I want to I want to give my tribute and shout out to Chadwick Boseman, because when this man was sick, before he went public with his ailments, this world dogged this man, talked about him like a dog, and he was in his last days.
We'll get to that. Yep, we'll get to that.
Yeah, so I feel that we should take artists serious when they have those moments of vulnerability, because this stuff is real to them. You know, it might be entertainment for us, but it's real to them.
I hear hella, I don't know what that is. I'm not in Chicago, so hopefully it ain't gunshots. But
no, we had some people doing fireworks up here.
Yeah, it's 2021, which is wild to say, but yeah, no. Chappelle, it was interesting. It was interesting to see him come out vulnerable like that and really talk about what it meant to him, which we all kind of knew. But, you know, for him to put it out there like that, it was interesting. So, so moving on, let's go. I feel like it's appropriate. We are in the new year now. It is 2021. Let's talk about the deaths. Let's talk about the losses. Let me say first of all for
losses this year.
Yeah, let me say first of all for me and AJ, we humbly respect and feel for all the losses of all of 2020, and you know, close to that, it has been a roller coaster of the year, but I feel like this is us opening up, so we want to talk about the ones that might be more personal to us or that impacted us. And so there's a lot to me that are in the front of my mind, and then there's a couple that are definitely honorable mentions, but I'm going to let you kick it off. Is there anything that's on your mind as far as our losses in 2020?
I felt like we just kept getting hit over the head. Like it started. I don't even know where to begin. For me, the biggest losses this year were definitely Kobe Bryant, definitely Chadwick Boseman, definitely Alex Trebek. There were so. And a few others, but those are the three that I'm like, wow. I don't know. I still don't know. It still doesn't seem real. A lot of it.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, my top one as far as the impact is Chadwick Boseman, and through our personal group messages and stuff, y'all know it's been hitting me harder and harder lately. I'm not sure why, but it's been hitting me harder and harder lately. I am a movie fan.
That's actually how we became friends, because we were both movie buffs. We would literally sit at our college job discussing everything under the sun, every movie under the sun.
And I love movies. I admire it. I write movies, and there's the project I'm writing right now. It's in my mind, it stars Chadwick Boseman. It always did. And it hurt so much to even write about it. I've been in a writer's block because I think about, like, am I in a writer's block because I don't want to think about Chadwick? Like, it hurts me so much. I seen, it's obviously 2021. A lot of people are talking about the past year. I seen Chadwick so much today, and it hurts me because Chadwick, he's a little older than people think. Black don't crack, but it still was more around my age, and Black Panther and all that. And to see, like, he came from Howard, man. Denzel was one of his sponsors, like, and he did not take that lightly. He didn't show up in your random, BT sitcom, no disrespect. He showed up in 42. Then he showed up in Get On Up. Then, he went on.
He did Marshall. He did
Marshall.
He hit us over the head with so many beautiful projects.
He did Marshall after T'Challa. Yeah. And he showed you, like, all this stuff, and he made a point to pay back what those before him have gave him. And it hurts. It hurts a lot. I love Black Panther for a reason. I love Chadwick Boseman for a reason. It hurts a lot to think about what he gave us and what we lost with him, because in the age of social media, in the age of, thinking about yourself, he chose to give back. He chose to be a bridge builder. And so it hurts a lot to think about him. And so he's definitely on the top. And, Kobe is definitely one as well, because Kobe is a story of redemption. And I know some people think it's not okay to talk about, but I think it's okay to talk about in his legacy, the whole allegations against him and the stories and the, trial, because whether he did or did not, he made the most of his time after that. And, what they called him and what they said about him, he continued to play. And then after he was done playing and gave his body to the game, he poured that into creativity. He poured that into his family. And, I mean, while we talk so much about Kobe, he lost one of his daughters with him, man. And he was pouring every bit of energy he had into his daughters, which awakened him to the idea of what he could pour into the WNBA. And it is a beautiful story of what we can accomplish with redemption. And so those two hit me very hard, very hard.
And I also, like you said, we can't really speak on his negatives, if he did, said things or not. But I do believe in, allowing people to rebuild after their mistakes. So I was definitely glad to see. I don't believe in criminalizing people permanently, because at that point you just want them to be you just want them to be a bad person their whole life. There's always going to be some type of reconciliation, yes, but one of his story, it was definitely inspiring to see him survive that and then become a very positive figure within the community and maintain it. That was the biggest thing. Kobe, after that moment, stayed on his P's and Q's his entire career. We never heard anything negative about him after that, because usually bad people who are actually bad, they always end up in some more shit. You know what I mean? And we hear, we see they straight act, disappear, and then they go back to their old ways. But he stayed on the straight and narrow, and he was really inspiring to a lot of people and gave himself to the game of basketball. And so I admire him for that. But yeah, it was still a very, it was a heavy death for me, not because I was a huge Kobe fan, but knowing the family members that I have that were Kobe fans, and seeing the sheer dread across my social media platforms, timelines, of people genuinely hurt by his passing, in the mourning of the community. Yeah, it was tough, but yeah, what a year.
Yeah, yeah, it was tough. It was interesting to see Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant affect me in ways that I didn't know would affect me. But a couple shout outs. I mean, we had Shabadoo
Recently,
from,
yes, just was
yes,
that yesterday?
I mean, if you don't know from Breaking, he was Ozone
Mm-hmm.
from Breaking Two, Electric Boogaloo,
You
and
can't forget.
that
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard
iconic films.
if you don't know me, man. You might, you don't know, but
That's
yeah,
definitely
I'm popping
Terry's.
a lot.
That's definitely Terry's.
I can get some break dancing in, but believe me, any break dancing, any popping locking, I know it's from Breaking, man. Turbo and Ozone, all the way, like that hurts.
And you
That
mentioned it
hurt.
earlier. We also have to mention Natalie Desselle Reid from BAPS. We were talking about
Yeah, yeah,
Cardi
oh
and
yeah,
Megan
yep.
doing their album cover like BAPS.
That
That
hurt.
was horrendous.
You
Also,
know what? Both of them, I feel the same way. I feel it hurts more because I didn't see anything from them afterwards. Not to say they never did anything, but for me, it didn't come across my, eyes. And so to think about Ozone in the 80s and the Baps in the 90s, and to think about now they're dead, and even to tie it back to soul, which kind of talks about that. Like I'm praying they live lives that was fulfilled. But a lot of times we think about accomplishments, and especially with the celebrities, it's like, oh, I haven't seen them in a while, so what did they do? And I don't want to feel like that, but it hurts.
yeah.
But yeah, Breaking, Ecstasy from Houdini died.
Yeah.
I didn't even, man. That's crazy.
Also, in the music industry, we have to mention the great Andre Harrell passed this year. Discoverer of Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, and also ran Motown for quite some time. Very prominent figure in the music industry. Has relationship with many of our favorite artists. That was a big one too. I think that hurt more because watching my favorite artist grieve about a friend. I don't think there was not one celebrity that I followed that's in the music industry that didn't get hit by that one, because he's worked with so many people. And
again, like, it's so, and we don't mean to belittle anybody. It's so many people that unfortunately we lost this year, and one recently that hits me. It hits me. Tiny Lister.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Debo. I mean, that's in my spirit of optimism, Debo. I remember him fondly. That's my bike, punk.
And also knowing, I know several people who've gotten the pleasure to actually meet and work with Tiny Lister, and all of them speaking on how pleasant and gentle he was, and how nice and accommodating he was to everyone around him. To know that he was basically a big old teddy bear, but he was still this iconic, bully from us or for us, and just seeing even the memes, laughing to keep from crying of him on his bicycle stealing Jesus's chain in heaven. It just it just shows how iconic he was to us in those film series for us, because there will never be anybody like Debo. There will never be another Tiny Lister, man. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, for our culture, very iconic. I mean, the one thing I always go to, which it might be weird because a lot of people go to Friday. I go to Meteor Man. And he was in Meteor Man with Robert Townsend. And I mean, he at that point, he was at the height of his popularity. And it's sad.
He was just one of my favorite big men, Also, it was one of my favorite episodes of Fresh Prince, Tiny Lister's in, when they're in that ghetto ass apartment. But he was one of my favorite big men. We lost some years back my other favorite big man, which was Michael Clark Duncan. Just kind of seeing those iconic security big guys. I hate that so many of them die at such young ages from different complications. But yeah, that was very bittersweet, because I definitely got joy out of watching us all remember him in the same amazing light, but also just knowing that he's no longer here.
Yeah, absolutely tough. I would say on the opposite note, if we could talk about some of our 2020 MVPs. Some of the people that we felt really came through in 2020 in a year that was extremely rough. Do you have any 2020
Yeah, I'm gonna have
MVPs?
to think on this one. You have to start this one off. Kick it off. Let's see.
Yeah, so first for me, as far as MVPs, I mean, we gotta. At least in my personal opinion, I think we got a couple, but I'm gonna start off with Swiss Beats and Timberland. Yep. I think what they did, I don't think could ever give enough love to the culture. Mm-hmm. And that is what they did with Versus, and giving us something to not just distract ourselves, but to feel good about, to appreciate, to rediscover the things we put together, whether it was St. Louis with Luda, or not Luda, Nelly in Atlanta with Luda, whether it was any of these things. Like, we talked a little bit about Versus and what they got to bring together, but they definitely came up in 2020 and gave us something to look forward to. So I enjoyed everything that Swiss Beats and Timberland provided us.
Well, in that regard, I'll definitely take off my hat to Will Smith and Jason Derulo. They made themselves the king of social media. They definitely kept the people entertained throughout the year, so much so that they ended up doing several collabs, because they got such a large audience viewing. Just knowing that everybody's at home and still finding a way to entertain us safely. So big shout out to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Will Smith been on the come up for a little bit,
but yeah, this year definitely did it for him though, because ain't nobody had nothing to do but sit at home and be on social media.
Yeah, and we all know how he came out with the reunion of the Fresh Prince and all that stuff. So
I don't feel like crying again. The two unbiz me. I never knew that
Yeah.
they never met. That is such a bizarre thing. I never knew that they never met in real life.
Yeah, it was. It was. If you don't got HBO Max, check that out. Definitely a plug for them. But thinking about 2020, as far as our MVPs, I mean,
I'm trying to figure out. I'm like thinking, like, what was I consuming this year? What did I spend my time doing?
on the side note, you definitely got to give.
A shout out to TikTok.
Well, TikTok. I was gonna say Netflix, but yeah,
Yeah, Netflix
both.
and TikTok for me. Those are the two platforms I definitely use the most in this here pandemic.
Yeah, I think they kept us sane.
Speaking of
At,
Netflix, if you are into Victorian era shows, support Shonda Rhimes. She just made her switch to Netflix from ABC, and her show Bridgerton is my cup of tea. If that Victorian era is your type of thing, you like little drama, little spice, definitely watch it. Me and my crew we've watched the whole season twice already. Get into
yeah,
it. That just dropped. I feel like maybe 2 weeks ago. Get into it, guys. But
yeah.
what were some of your favorites on Netflix this year? Netflix dropped a lot of stuff.
Man, I'm bad with Netflix. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll be trying to make sure I go through the stuff, but
Also, shout out Netflix for dropping all the Black classics, Girlfriends,
they
Parkers,
did.
One on One, Half and Half. They
I'm
went
a,
crazy with it.
yeah, I'm gonna watch the Chadwick Boseman and
Oh yeah, you got to get into it. He has
what is her name?
two beautiful monologues. Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black
Viola.
Bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I gotta
the
watch that.
monologues in that film, and you know what, I want to address this because a lot of people are not privy to stage performance like they used to be, and a lot of people were like, oh, I expected more, or they wanted some cinematic drama. They have to understand that this is a stage play adapted to a film. When you adapt a stage play to a film, it's never going to take place in 80,000 places. It's always going to be two rooms, just like the stage. Just like when Raisin in the Sun was recreated as a film. Even Fences with Denzel and Viola. You notice that film didn't take place in too many places because that's how it's represented to its true essence. So I encourage more people to go back and watch more stage plays so they can understand the essence of these films and stop expecting this cinematic movement of the movie taking place in restaurants and movies and this and that. And that's not how it goes. And that would take away from the artistry of very classic writers like U.B. Blake and August Wilson and the like. So go get some more culture. Go learn some more about the arts. Get into some more stuff other than just movies. Read the stage plays. Go see some stage plays. Go to the theater when the world opens back up, because it was a masterpiece. And I feel like a lot of people watching it were looking for a regular movie and not understanding the context and where it came from. So,
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of our voices have been prioritized. I wouldn't say elevated, but prioritized right now because of the times we go through. But a lot of these people that we see their work. Obviously August Wilson, but even like with Jingle Jangle, which was a Christmas movie, and a couple things like this stuff's been written decades ago. Like this is stuff that they've been put down that just now is being elevated. So I wouldn't put all my chips into this idea that we're winning. That's just kind of the hot topic right now. So, kind of transitioning. We'll definitely, we talked about the elephant in the room with COVID, but we'll talk about the elephant in the room with social justice and revolution. If we could briefly touch upon that, what was your perspective of what we went through this year?
It was, to me, I feel like these last 4 years or so has been a living hell for the social justice of many different communities, because why I think it's been more of a hell is because now news agencies are more willing to share the clips of the defamation of so many beautiful people, and that's still not helping in the plight for justice. I don't see how we can blatantly see people murdered with all of our own eyes and still not see anybody go to jail, or have the right charges, or they might find one victim out of the group of people who committed the crime, when everybody needs to be held against. For instance, if me and you go into the store together and I steal, they're going to arrest both of us because you're guilty by association. That's how they treat society. So we got to deal with this monstrous attitude where they sacrifice one lamb from these different police stations and different community members, because Audrey was killed by community members. They arrest one person when there's multiple people involved. With George, Floyd, multiple people involved. And that one hit home very hard because I live in Minnesota. And when I went to that block to see the memorial for him, I didn't even go for a long time until I had somebody with me that I could trust. My best friend, Terry, I have two best friends named Terry. Girl Terry came up to visit me, and that's somebody that I feel safe with, that I went out to the memorial, and my heart and my chest and my stomach hurt so bad. Like I was clenching my hands so bad that my nails were digging into my skin. I could only stay out there for about 10 or 15 minutes because it was just too much, because at the memorial, they had a 2-block long list of all the people who have been unjustly killed recently. And knowing that list is just for the last maybe 7 years, and knowing that these injustices have been going on for decades, you know what I mean? A century at this point. And because we got to think, this 1920 to 2020 is a century. And we all know that this has been going on since the late 1800s, of these injustices for Native Americans, for Black people, for Hispanic people. I'm tapped out. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm tapped out. I'm screamed out. I'm protest out. But we can't stop, But it hurts, and I had to shield myself from a lot of things. I stayed off of a lot of social media during those moments to just shield my heart, because I'm an empath. I'm a crybaby. I cry a lot, even though a lot of people consider me to be a rock who knows me. But in my own humble abode, I am a emotional wreck. And I had to guard myself a lot this year because I just could not understand and take the injustice. Breonna Taylor, so many beautiful people dying for no reason, at the injustice of this broken system. The system wasn't built for us. We keep asking for it to work. It's not going to happen. They need to overhaul it, but the likelihood of that is slim to none, and that's the disheartening part about it. So I don't even know where to go with it, but this year was rough.
Yeah, I definitely echo those sentiments for a lot of different reasons, and we're not going to travel down that path too much, but
we'll be here another 3 hours.
Yeah, I would say shook if is the word.
Definitely. with the
this
ETH at
year.
the end. Shooketh. Okay.
Yeah.
This year took a hole out of a lot of us.
So we'll wrap up with this couple things. First off, what are some lessons you took from 2020? What did you learn about the pandemic and all that stuff?
I've always preached this lesson, but I feel like the world learned it. Time is of the essence. Enjoy your life. Love on who you can when you can. You think about somebody, call them. Take those few minutes and your times out of your day. We get so engulfed in this rat race. Take time for yourself to actually enjoy your life and find some peace in whatever hobby that you're into. But this year, I think, has taught all of us that you just never know, what's gonna happen, and just a unified. I'm hoping that this unified grief. I was hoping that this unified grief was going to bring about a little bit more unity, but I will say that it is disheartening that even in the middle of a pandemic where the whole world is losing family members, thousands and thousands upon thousands of people, and we still chose violence and recklessness during this past election. I think we as a country need to do a lot of self-reflecting about who we are and what we stand for and what type of people we have here, because I found that absolutely disgusting. How can we be usually in the midst of pain, we are able to join forces and join hands and set our differences aside. And we definitely did not do that this year. And I'm frowning at that completely, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest lessons, as I alluded to earlier, was just America. Mm-hmm. And as much as I knew about America firsthand, as much as I've heard about America secondhand, this has really put into perspective what our country is at. And I mean,
as the Gen Zs like to say, America is a third world country with a Gucci belt on. And it's no statement truer than that. A damn shame. That's what it is.
And honestly, I don't disagree that we are a great country, but it's a lot of price that comes with freedom. And there's a lot of price that comes with uniformity in some other countries. So I'm not going to completely disregard us, but I will say that,
not, yeah.
Yeah, I will say that I happen to be in a space in my PhD program with education to talk about how other countries fund education and how they look at education and what's the history of other countries and spaces with education, and to juxtapose that to just with our quality period. Like in America, we don't know what subsidized mean, federally subsidized. We don't know what a public good is anymore. Mm-mm. Like in other countries, education is absolutely something that needs to be provided. Other countries, water is something that needs to be provided, or alternative energy. And here it's just like we just are every person for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think the pandemic has shown that beyond, anything else. So my biggest lesson, I joke sometimes I'm being serious. I really think about my future and like, what is it in this country and where I could go elsewhere, because, sometimes it feels like this country is too much. Not just as a Black man, but just as a regular American. It's just like, it feels like too much sometimes. So I think about that. That's one of my lessons. So I guess The last thing we could talk about is what is some of our goals, or what are some of the things we're looking to in 2021?
Well, for me personally, just maintaining consistency. I moved to a new state. I thought I was going to be jumping in and getting settled into a life here, and this pandemic hit that right over the head. So I'm just trying to create some normalcy for myself and some consistency in my life, some work-life balance, and just get back into something that feels comfortable, you know, and lifestyle that feels comfortable. But that's all I'll be doing next year, and saving all the money I spent on dental this year.
Yeah.
I cleaned out my savings trying to do all these damn dental surgeries. So my goals are very simple next year. I'm not going to bite off too much.
2021. I mean, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, despite what some people say. We're in the middle of it, and it'll be interesting. I think overall, some of my goals is just kind of like you said earlier, just be present in the moment and live our lives, and try to make sure that whatever opportunities we given, that we take advantage of them. And that's really all that we can ask for. Give your roses while you still can. Don't wait till it's afterwards. And just kind of live our life, man. Yeah. Because it can be shut down, it can be altered. And so I always feel this way, honestly, in the winter. Yeah. Like when I have to,
when I got closed shop, can't go outside no more,
bro. When I gotta clean my car off before I go out, or I gotta warm it up for 10 minutes and all that, I'm like, man, I'm gonna be grateful when the sun warm out again. So, yeah, that's how I feel right now. It's just really appreciating the time we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
All right, so that is it for us. Appreciate AJ coming on.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, as always.
Doing our 2020 wrap up. We'll see everybody in the new year by this time, 2021. Thank you for listening. Go to the comment section, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, thank you for listening, and thank you for going out of bounds. And that'll be it.